People saying that Vietnam is still cheap are lying. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but the property market here is definitely overheated and prices are getting out of control. If you're considering relocating or even traveling to central Vietnam, this video will provide the raw, unfiltered reality of the Da Nang rental market. I'll also provide my advice for how you need to adjust your approach so you don't get burned. If you find this kind of content helpful, consider subscribing. Let's get into the video. I was doing a beachfront villa tour down the coast in An Bang. It's kind of a canary in the coal mine for the higher end of the rental market and the real estate market generally. Just to set the stage, Vietnam is expecting 25 million foreign visitors in 2026, and a huge chunk of that traffic is funneling right here to central Vietnam. Da Nang's tourism revenue is expected to grow 20% year on year, and that spillover is turning An Bang from a quiet village into a gold rush. So I arrive at this villa and it's stunning on paper. 6 bedrooms, private pool, the works. But as I got closer, I heard it. Right next door, literally 2 meters away from the front gate, is a new cafe under construction. In Vietnam, there are no noise curfews for developments. They work from 6 or 7 a.m. until the sun goes down, which is great for efficiency, but not great if you're trying to relax or get some work done, especially when you factor in that this villa costs $600 per night.
Oh man! Oh God, oh man.
Now, I know what you're thinking, Tom, this is a short-term rental, but long-term rentals are also ballooning in price. If you saw my last property hunting video in Da Nang, I'll pop it up here in case you're curious, you would have seen that prices in Da Nang for 1 and 2 bed apartments have already gone up by an average of 20 to 30%, and sometimes even more. And that's in 2026 alone. This means that an average studio will cost anywhere from $400 to $600 for a little box. A quality 1 bedroom apartment in a condo will set you back anywhere from $700, $800 all the way up to $1,000. And for 2 bedroom apartments, forget about it. I say that because the supply for good quality long-term rentals is almost non-existent now. And when they do come onto the market, they get snapped up almost immediately by foreigners who will just pay whatever the listing price is. Okay, so why is it so expensive? Let's look at some numbers. Residential property prices in the Nang and Hoi An coastal corridor are up from 7 to 11% already in 2026. And it's not just foreigners. Over 50% of these transactions are coming from wealthy investors from Hanoi or Saigon. They're buying up these lifestyle assets and they expect a solid return. On top of that, the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is up nearly 4.7% already by March 2026. Everything is getting more expensive. Sand, stone, bricks, and labor. And landlords are passing those costs on to renters. And this doesn't even factor in the recent war in the Middle East, which is expected to cause a global energy crisis in the latter half of 2026. And as we know, when the price of energy goes up, the price of everything goes up. And here's the kicker. Landlords like this one are charging $600 a night because people are paying it.
What?
With 25 million tourists coming in, the short-term market is cannibalizing the long-term market. Why would a landlord rent to you for $1,500 a month when he can rent to a group for 3 or 4 nights and make the same amount? And the numbers reflect this. Short-term occupancy rates in An Bang are a whopping 78%. For a landlord, that means they don't need to be perfect to make money. They just need to be available and on the beach. When demand outstrips supply this heavily, the first thing to go is the quality of the experience. So the good news is that the situation in Da Nang is not as dire as it is in An Bang. However, because demand is so high for good quality properties, in the near future you will see more landlords in Da Nang switching over to short-term or at least month-by-month rentals because it's in their financial interest to do so. Unfortunately, this will further increase the prices for long-term rentals. Basically, the low supply and the high demand is creating a feedback loop. Now, I want to be fair to the owners here. We often look at this through the Western lens of value for money. But in Vietnamese business culture, the main priority is maximizing asset yield. If a landlord has a mortgage on a property like this, they aren't looking to give you a fair deal. They're looking to pay off their bank loan as fast as possible because for local investors, interest rates are hovering around 8 to 10% annually, significantly higher than in the West. They aren't being mean, they're being pragmatic. They know that for every one of you that complains about the noise, there are 10 more foreigners arriving at Da Nang Airport who will click book now without asking a single question. Unfortunately, you're competing with the world's ignorance. But just because they can charge it doesn't mean you should be paying it. You're currently being sold a dream that's under construction. So Da Nang is becoming more popular than ever with foreign tourists and expats. The market heats up, and landlords, due to a combination of financial pressures and incentives, are either switching to short-term rentals or jacking up the price of long-term leases. There is one final factor at play, which might just be the silver lining. Most people think Vietnam is a year-round tropical paradise. They're wrong. From October to January, the weather in central Vietnam is, quite frankly, shit. It's grey, it's damp, and the beach life disappears under a layer of drizzle. Most tourists stay far away, and the short-term market craters. But for us, this is the golden window. In the peak summer months, landlords are making a killing on tourists. But come October, they're looking at 3 or 4 months of zero income, while their property remains vacant. They start to panic. This is when you strike. Don't try to negotiate a long-term lease in July. You have zero leverage. Wait for the rain. When you come back in October or November and you're looking at a villa that's been vacant for 3 or 4 weeks, the power shifts. You're not just a renter, you're certainty. Offer a 1-year lease when the sky is grey. Often you'll be able to save 40 or even 50%, sometimes more. Okay, so fast forward to October. You're on the ground in Hoi An or Da Nang. How do you avoid getting burned? Whether you're coming for a week or a year, you need a different strategy in 2026. Before you book on Airbnb, go on Google Maps and use the satellite view. Look for empty dirt lots next to your villa. If you see foundations or cranes, skip it. This part of Hoi An, we're about 22 kilometers to Da Nang from here. This area it looks pretty vacant, right? And we're still really close to Hoi An, about 10 minutes to the old town. This all will get built up though, 100%. Da Nang is going through a crazy construction boom at the moment, and it's definitely spread down here to Hoi An as well. Google is not 100% accurate in Vietnam though, so you will need to message the owner. Ask if there is active construction within 100 meters of the property. Get it in writing in the chat. Then if you arrive and it's loud, you have the proof you need to be able to get a refund. I'd also recommend staying 2 or 3 streets back from the beach. You lose the ocean view, but you will save 40+% on the price. If you're coming long term, never, and I mean never, sign a lease from abroad. Book a cheap guest house for 1, maximum 2 weeks, and then spend that time on a motorbike cruising around looking for rent signs in the streets. You can also go on Facebook groups and contact agents directly. I'll put the ones that I've used in the description. This is just step 1. You will need to contact agents directly on WhatsApp or Zalo. It's important to keep in mind that business is done slightly differently in Vietnam. So if you send someone a blunt question, don't be surprised if they ignore you. It's important to warm them up a bit and start to build trust before you really get into the depth of the conversation. Make sure you're asking the important questions and have a very clear idea of what it is you want and where. I will make an entire video on this because dealing with real estate agents in Vietnam can be an absolute nightmare, and you do need to be very patient and selective about who you work with. Some agents are very flaky and will schedule viewings and then show up late or just ghost entirely. Some will share listings which no longer exist just to get you in the door. Others will share tenanted listings, so you need to make sure you ask about that. And a very common trick is the bait and switch, where they'll show photos of the best apartment in the complex, but not the one that you'll be viewing. You can prepare for this with a clear approach and checklist of questions to ask, but really you do need to temper your expectations and be prepared to walk away. This is a numbers game. If a landlord won't budge on a ridiculous price, walk away. There is a massive supply of apartments coming online in Da Nang. Some estimates put it around 13,000, and that will eventually force prices in this region back to reality, especially as we exit the peak season. In addition to checking things like water pressure, airflow and AC units, lighting, storage, views, and of course, the property layout, You also need to be wary of a few other things that you might not think of if you were touring an apartment in the West. Let's take a look. First, let's look at the metal. In Hoi An, salt air is a silent killer. If you see rusted hinges or pitted stainless steel in the kitchen, it tells you two things. The owner isn't using marine grade materials, and they aren't doing the weekly freshwater rinse, which is required for beachfront living. In 2026, repair rates are already 15% more expensive, and you don't want to inherit the owner's maintenance debt. Next up, you want to check for mold. Because many of these villas stay closed during the winter months, moisture builds up behind the furniture. So if you see black spots or smell a rusty, old basement scent, walk away. That mold is in the AC ducts, it's in the mattress, and in this heat, it's a health hazard that you can't fix with a spray bottle. Here's a data point that you won't find on Airbnb. Rental scams are up already 37% in Vietnam this year. Before you hand over a deposit, you need to make sure you see the pink book. This is the official owner certificate. If the name in that book doesn't match the ID of the person that you're dealing with, it's likely that they're a subleaser or potentially a scammer. In the 2026 market, with prices so high, people are getting desperate to flip their properties onto unsuspecting foreigners. Finally, check the meter. The standard government electricity rate as of May 2025 was 2,200 dong per kilowatt. Now, when you adjust it for inflation, the price should be hovering around 2,500. Because of the massive influx of foreigners, landlords are now trying to get a flat rate of 5,000 or 6,000 dong per kilowatt. With a 6-bedroom property, this can easily tack on several $100s more to the monthly cost. Always insist on seeing the EVN bill from the previous month. If they can't show you the maths, they're likely overcharging you, and it gives you another reason to walk away. The secret is officially out. Everybody's coming to Da Nang, and that spillover is affecting Hoi An just as much. The days of easy value are well and truly over. You need to be prepared to pay quite a lot more than you did a year or even 6 months ago. Plan relentlessly, do your due diligence, be prepared to negotiate, and most importantly, adjust your expectations. Vietnam is still an incredible place to live, but you need to be smarter than the current market. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I recommend checking out this video here where I toured 8 properties in Da Nang. It'll give you a little bit more idea about the property market.